Hey, it's Friday here on Outpost Unknown, and you know what that means. I, Matthew, he, Jeremy, are continuing to exhume the X Files. Say hello, Jeremy.
Hey everybody, how you doing? How you doing?
We're at the penultimate episode of season 3, Wet Wired, directed by Rob Bowman and written by Matt Beck. Uh, did you have any recollections of this one?
I did not.
I didn't either. Which makes me wonder. I was like, surely I've seen this episode, but when I was watching it, I didn't really have any memories popping to the surface. So this was, I guess, in a way, kind of new to me. So, Wet Wired, how do we kick this one off?
It starts with a middle-aged version of the bad guy from the Phantasm burying skinny John Cena in his gay red boots and shouting at him, "Your killing days are over!" while he's putting him in a shallow grave. Cuts from that scene to he's washing the blood off of his hands at his kitchen sink. He turns around and the guy he just got done burying is standing right behind him, and he smiles and he gets the shovel right upside his head.
Yeah.
So we go to him stuffing the body in the trunk. A couple of cops pull up and says, "Hey, what's going on?" And he turns around. The cop is the guy he just got done shoveling upside his head. So he attacks him. The cop tases him, and through the tasing part of it, there's this weird like visual artifacting thing that happens to the cop's face. The artifacting falls away, and it's just a normal guy. It's not the guy that he thought he was killing in the first place. So he looks over at the person in the trunk and he sees his wife, Sarah. He
Yeah.
starts screaming, "Sarah!" And then we get the title screen.
Yeah, it's cool because it's like he's seeing like a digital video or something, and it's sort of glitching out, and then revealing what reality was. I thought this was a cool cold open. I was a little confused at first by what was going on, but then it's like, oh, okay, he's seeing the same person. It made me be very kind of like, all right, I'm curious as to what's going on here. Like, why is this guy seeing like digital video through his eyes? What'd you think of this one?
I was yelling I was screaming Sarah in my house. My wife was making fun of me, so it was okay, I guess.
It got me into it. It got me
Yeah,
engaged in this episode.
I was curious to see where things were going. Is it the best cold opening ever? No, but it's not by far not a bad one. No.
Okay.
All right, so we get past the title screen. Dude gets into Mulder's car, and Mulder immediately hits him up with like, "This is this being a blind date. You've kept me waiting here for 2 hours." This random dude that just got in the car with him hands him a newspaper and says, "Look at that," and it's a picture of the guy from the pre-title screen. He doesn't know who he is. He's like, "You sent me an anonymous email to come visit you out here. What makes you think, or how do I know that I'm not getting played?" And he's like, "Well, I guess you don't." So he just tosses the newspaper right back at him and says, "Fucking fuck you. I'm not doing any of this."
Yeah.
But he tells him like, "Well, if you ignore it, more people are going to die."
Yeah, and this is the thing with all these informants with Mulder is they never just straight up tell him what's going on. It's like read this news article and go figure it out. There's something happening, but I'm not going to give you any hint or clue whatsoever. Just go follow this newspaper
Do
article.
what you're supposed to do. Do what we say. And
Yeah.
yeah, but we needed to get warmed up to that happening over again.
Yeah, because later on this is going to come back around when Mulder gets very very upset with a certain individual.
So Mulder goes and investigates, and sure enough, it's enough of an X file for him to be interested in the subject matter. He just doesn't immediately dismiss it or like I'm getting played or something like that. He's just okay. Yeah, this is. He saw something weird. He's looking through a window at the guy inside of a room. Doctor tells him he has him doped on Thorazine and it barely affects him. He should be drooling, but he's not. But then all of a sudden, inside of the room, he just starts freaking out because he's watching television. Just starts freaking the fuck out. And they
Yeah.
go in, they subdue him, they look at the television set, and it's the guy that he murdered, only it's real life. It's a news broadcast, and this dude is Slobodan Milosevic,
Yeah, essentially.
essentially
Yeah.
from Yugoslavia, ethnically cleansing. He's a monster. He was a monster before we came in and got rid of his ass. But they go to his house to figure out, what was going on in his life to make him have this psychotic break. They come in, and for no reason, there's a couple of kids. Well, not for no reason, but it was weak. There's a couple of kids that had broken into this dude's house and are watching the end of Die Hard
Yeah.
instead of being in school.
Yes. Yeah, it's quite literally Die Hard. That's what they're watching.
So instead of booking them, like, hey, I realize breaking and entering is a bad thing, but we do it all the time at the FBI. So just go away. But they use it as a vessel to show you that all of a sudden as soon as the kids get dismissed, the cable TV cuts off. It just goes to a snow screen on the television set, and Mulder looks outside and sees a cable repairman climbing the local pole, fucking around with something up there, and then leaving. Um, they find that he had recorded news or episode after episode after episode of the daily and the evening news, and he had an entire case of VHS recordings of it. So they take it all and they go back to the different hotel rooms and then just watch. I think Mulder said he'd watched 36
Yeah.
hours of news straight and is about to murder somebody when he shows up
Yep.
at Scully's room.
Well, I love how Scully, like, they have their little conversation, and Mulder's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go to sleep," and Scully's like, "I'm gonna stay up and keep watching tapes." Like, Jesus Christ, go get some dinner or something. Shit.
Have a life. 36 hours.
36
So
hours of Slobodan Milosevic.
yeah, so she has a theory that the news was about, or that it triggered an issue that he had with amphetamine abuse. And maybe, if the guy was a fucking meth head, that everything checks out.
Yeah.
But he just dismisses it completely out of hand, and his reasoning is because he can't see it that way. All right. Then he leaves. He says he's going to go back to bed. He leaves, and she suddenly, we find Scully all alone, and she immediately starts getting heavily paranoid,
Yeah.
and she hears Mulder like conversating on the phone through the wall, and she hears things like she doesn't suspect anything, she doesn't know anything yet. I'm like, is this the scene where she goes outside
Yep.
and sees Mulder in a car in the front seat with the fucking cigarette smoking man in the distance, and he hands him a videotape to, like, I don't know, dispose of the evidence or something like that. But like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Why is he talking to him? But it just seems so weird.
Yeah. And she starts getting like, well, Gillian Anderson goes full paranoia in this episode, but you can really see at that initial time when she sees a cigarette smoking man in the car with Mulder, she starts freaking out like almost immediately. You can just see on her face, she's like, "What the fuck is going on?" Now, when I initially saw that, I was like, Is that what she would honestly do? Would she honestly just never bring that up to Mulder whatsoever, or would she just go straight up confront him about that? Like, I saw you in the car with a cigarette smoking man. What the fuck was that about? How did you take that? Did you buy the fact that she kind of just immediately? And I know she's kind of under the influence of the signals and stuff, but do you think that she would just immediately not question Mulder about what she just saw?
I don't know. It wasn't ever presented, at least to me as the audience, as this was reality. There was, from the moment that Mulder went back to his room and then the phone call, there was something hokey you could feel about the way it was shot, or how you could hear things, or the way that Scully was just suddenly acting heavily paranoid, that there was just something off about it. I think it would have been different if it would have been presented to me as reality, just
Okay.
genuine. Like, if it would have left me as, as an audience member wondering, what the fuck is he talking to the cigarette smoking man for?
So
But
almost the cold open showing like the glitchiness kind of hurt the impact of what could have happened here. Because if we hadn't seen in the cold open that this guy was like, seeing a digital picture or whatever of seeing this sort of fake stuff, we wouldn't necessarily know why Scully was starting to kind of freak out and seeing that. We would have questioned it longer in the episode.
It would have left a mystery hanging out there, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But no, I didn't get this, or so. But it was presented to me, at least how I was viewing it, as some sort of induced something or other going on.
Yeah.
So you couple that with how well she was playing the hyper paranoid part. If she doesn't trust Mulder suddenly and she's just hyper paranoid about it, no, I don't think she's going to confront him about it.
Okay.
Not in that state. Just an opinion. Well,
No, it's fine. I mean,
so what is it? Then we cut to some lady is watching the news while she's doing the dishes. She looks outside and she sees some bearded long haired dude like feeling up some hot blonde chick that's sitting in his lap.
yeah.
And she just gets real mad and she goes to like the hall closet where you hang your fucking raincoat and stuff. Just has a double barreled shotgun just sitting there in the corner, next to the drying umbrellas. Like,
It's not the
way to,
first time her husband has done this, Jeremy.
yeah, but way to stay strapped. You don't want your piece like hidden somewhere. If you need to suddenly have a shotgun in your hands, it's handy to just be 10 feet away from one of them. She takes that shotgun out. We hear a shot ring out, and I think that's the commercial break part of it. We come
Yeah.
back, and there's this great scene where there's just this pool of blood on the ground underneath the hammock, just dripping down. It pans up, and this dude just has a hole in his belly. He's dead. He also doesn't have a beard anymore. It was just
Well,
a bald guy. I'm like, what the
yeah,
fuck?
but that's explained.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
But I remember looking at it like, did they just hire some dude with a beard and then just not like fuck it, we can't
Continuity
reshoot
error.
this. We'll fix it in post, sort of thing. Um, they what, they find that it was the neighbor, and that the blonde in his lap was his golden retriever dog that was just sitting in his lap, and she's like, I guess the bearded guy was, or at least to her, was her husband.
Yeah.
And so she went out and shot into the neighbor's backyard and shot him to death. Didn't shoot the dog, There's not another Queequeg murdering spree
You
thing.
can't kill a dog 2 weeks in
Right.
a row, Jeremy.
Right.
That can't happen on television.
Well, okay, was the guy that wrote Queequeg's death in the previous episode, did he have anything to do with this episode? I'd be
No.
interested to know, because if he did, I think that dog was going down.
I don't think he had anything to do with this episode.
All right. So, what is it? They find that they're not in the right yard. And they actually say, I wrote it down. They say, let's check it out. They want to go investigate this woman's house. They go into her house and find that she just had a problem, near hoarding problem, or at least a burgeoning hoarding problem with buying things from the home shopping network. And what did they find there? As they're going through the hoarder's house,
Mulder sees the
Mulder
dude
looks
on the
outside
pole
and
again.
sees
Yeah.
and then just decides to run outside and just start sprinting after the cable repairman. Like, hey!
Stop right there.
But no, the guy gets into the van, just drives off. He climbs the pole afterwards, and this was an era when we trusted kids not to kill themselves. You remember telephone poles used to have those big
Oh yeah.
arms sticking out of the side of them, and you could climb all the way up to the top.
Oh yeah.
He climbs up to the top. He opens a circuit breaker box, and what you saw in there was four fuses. That, there's electricity running through the bottom. There's no electricity running through the top, and the fuse that bridges that gap is what regulates the flow. And if that flow of electricity is too high, it breaks the circuit breaker in between it and stops power from going to wherever it's going to. Mulder reaches in there and immediately closes the circuit by touching the top and the bottom with both fingers. He would have been shocked to fucking death. But
It's like that scene in The Burbs when Rick Duckerman goes up and shoots off and flies down into that it's just like, yeah. I was looking, I was like, he can't just do that, can he?
you can grab the fuse. You can grab the fuse body in some instances as long as the electricity isn't flowing on the outside of it and pull that fuse. That's intended to do it. But you can't touch the electrode at the top and the bottom because you become the fuse.
Okay.
So he just grabs ejects this because there's four fuses sitting there, but one of them is like fatter than the rest and newer than the rest.
Yeah.
He's like, all right, well, this is just freshly installed. So he yanks it. Scully immediately starts like, what happened here? What do you got there? And he's like, I got some evidence. And Scully's like, okay, well, you need to follow proper procedure and take it down to the FBI lab and figure out what's going on. I was like, yeah, I'll do whatever, making her further suspicious of
Yeah.
what he's doing.
Mulder doesn't do anything by the book, Scully.
Well, I mean, he's got dudes with talent that don't fucking talk and aren't potentially compromised. I like that he has resources in the Horsemen a lot.
Yeah.
But why later on when she starts grilling about it, he didn't just say, "Hey, I was with your favorite local pervs, the Horsemen."
Gunman, lone gunman.
Oh, gunman, yes, gunman. Sorry. They take a look at it. They figure out that yeah, there's some additional signal that's being added to the cable signal that's running through this thing. So he just leaves it with them in order to figure out exactly what that is. He goes back to find Scully. Scully is not happy about him not following procedure and thinks that maybe he's in on it. They're talking on the phone. She starts hearing clicking on the phone, like somebody's
Yeah.
tapping their line. So she starts going crazy. She hangs up with him. She breaks open her phone, finds no bug there. Like starts going through her lamp, starts going through her furniture. Eventually, trashes her entire hotel room trying to find a bug and doesn't find anything.
That had to be fun to shoot.
Just
Like,
trash in the room.
Jillian, you're just going to destroy this entire room.
Really? Oh, okay. And so, while or at the tail end of her trashing this room, Mulder, like, I guess he couldn't get into her room and gets a hold of the hotel manager or whatever, has him unlock the room. As he's doing it, she thinks that somebody is beating down her door. She pulls her gun out and just lets the door have it.
Well, at the very top of the door.
Well, okay. Yeah.
I wrote down she missed everything. Like, she shot all those bullet holes went to the very top of the door. Clearly, they wouldn't hit anybody.
But then they get in the room. Thankfully, nobody gets hurt. But they find that there's a back door on a hotel. What is with hotel rooms in the world of like media back in the 90s? Like, not they did this during
Yeah.
Eve 6. They did it during this episode. Like, I've never been in a hotel room with two entrances.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah.
I've stayed in a lot.
Yeah, there's always a back door or an easy way to get out of the hotel room in all of these shows. It's an interesting cultural artifact of the time because I don't notice that in media currently, but certainly back then in the day, and it's even more noticeable now because it's like as a kid, I guess I wasn't really thinking or considering that kind of thing, but as an adult, I'm like, wait a minute, how does Scully just vanish from this hotel room? Like, how does this happen? Yeah, it's weird.
But, back door. So she flees, and Mulder's immediately worried about it. He calls up Scully's mom and just says, "Hey, your daughter ran off. Have you seen her?" And the answer was no, but wouldn't answer any of the mom's questions
Yeah,
about, like what's going on. It's like, hey, when I know something, you'll know something. Like, that was
I'll call you later. Like
yeah,
he literally is like, I'll call you later.
yeah. Thanks for having zero information about
Yeah.
your daughter. But as far as what's wrong, you'll fuck yourself.
Yeah. But later on, what drives me crazy is Mulder's like, I'll call you later. He has Scully's mom's phone number. Later on in this episode, he tells like this person, someone needs to call her mother, and then he gets mad. Oh, why didn't you call her mother? And I wrote down, dude, you said you would call her mom right back. you never took the chance to tell her, call her mom about any of this, but you're yelling at this other dude for not calling. It's like, oh, come on, Mulder,
You're
come
dropping the fucking ball. Of course, Mulder's just gonna blame other people. Like, just piece of shit.
on.
So, what is it? Or finds Skinner. He's trying to
Yeah,
get Skinner to like, hey,
Skinner cameo.
let me. You need to back the guys off so I can find Scully first because she's like running and gunning, and if I find her, I might be able to de-escalate this without somebody shooting Scully. And Skinner basically just says, "You need to hurry your ass up, and I can't do that. You need to find her before these guys do."
They got orders shoot to kill, Mulder. You better go
So
find her quick.
Mulder doesn't know what to do. He goes back to his apartment and puts the X up in the window in the hopes that he can get a hold of X. But while he's waiting, the horsemen call him and just say they found some stuff. But I'm not going to tell you what we found over the phone. You just need to come down here and see what we found. And they found that programming the normal television signal that's displayed in older analog television between frames in combination with this little part that they found, that it's some sort of signal that allows mind control. And it was actually kind of a cool scene, like how
Yeah.
they showed the pattern behind everything, especially back then. It definitely reminded me a little bit of The Lawnmower Man, which I love that movie, even though it sucks.
It reminded me of that. Was it first or second season? I don't remember. Blood. Do you remember when they were getting like the messages through the electronic stuff? This seemed like I guess just a kind of a take on that, but focusing on television and television signals and stuff. Because I remember there being like discussion back in the day of subliminal messages going through the television and things of that nature. But I actually liked this kind of working of this concept better than that older episode we saw a couple seasons back.
I thought it was well done. I liked the whole subplot about the mind control shit a lot in this episode. I found it plausible.
Yeah.
Then he gets a call while he's hanging out with the gunman saying that they believe they found Scully's body.
Yeah.
And he immediately goes stone faced. And they ask him to come down to identify it. So
Do you think his reaction in that moment was done well?
no.
Okay, I agree with you because I wrote down there as like bad acting by David Duchovny there. Like there was no real. I mean, I guess he'd be like, "Well, it's just shock," but I was like, you gotta give me some more emotion than that, buddy." Like he just kind of dropped the ball on that moment. I think.
I mean, outside of his sister, as far as real life people goes, Scully has to be the most important person in
Yeah.
Mulder's life. Like
Well,
there's
later
no
later
friend,
in the episode, he
family.
tells her, "You're the only person I trust." He literally tells her that,
And
but he has
so
no emotion.
yeah, no, you're right. That should have been, I don't know, played frantically, played in straight just pure denial. Like,
Something, yeah,
don't tell me shit like that. I'll be the judge. I don't know. Something more akin. He just played it stone faced. And I
yeah.
wasn't even sure of what they were talking about on the phone until he was walking out the door, and just as a passing comment to the gunman, which if it was also her body, wouldn't at least the glasses guy have hopped in the car with him?
Yeah, because
He's
remember when
a huge crush.
Yeah, well, remember when Scully was in the hospital or dying in that
Yeah,
previous episode? He went to the hospital and brought her flowers. So it's that was all written very strange and played strange.
but he goes to the hospital. Does he run into? No, no, he runs into on his way inside of the hospital to go identify her body. He runs into that fucking nobody that from the pre-title screen that stood him up on his date.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Oh, sorry, not pre-title screen, post-title screen. But yeah,
yeah. The first scene, yeah, the first scene.
the first guy that we've never seen
The
before, and we have
tipster,
no
yeah.
we have no reason to trust. And he's basically told that if he doesn't follow along and find out who's responsible, like things are going to get so much worse. He's trying to tell him that going to identify Scully's body is just wasting time.
Yeah.
But he goes
He's, fuck
in
Scully,
anyway.
chase the evidence, man.
He goes in anyway because that's what, you're supposed to fucking do. Says that she got shot in the forehead, and they look through blinds. There's no scene where he goes in and they do the typical, like, stereotypical pullback, the shroud, and look at her. And no, they
Yeah.
just did it through like a window from like 8 feet away. And he
They
has
really
still
they
has that
really play up that scene though. They really play it up with like the camera and stuff and like are we actually going to reveal that Scully is dead?
and then he just says, that's not her.
Not her. Somebody call her mom. You call her mom, god damn it. You've got her phone number. Shit.
And what is it? And so he tries to call, at that point, he tries to call Scully's mom. I can't remember her name, and won't pick up. So he just automatically knows that Scully must be there. He
Yeah.
goes, just walks into or no, the mom answers the door. She's clearly distressed. Mulder kind of doesn't force his way in, but kind of bullies his way in a little bit. Scully comes out of the back and she is just cracked out of her mind. She's got a gun pulled on Mulder. She's kind of shouting at him a little bit.
Yeah, she's
I thought it
like,
was
"I told you he's going to kill me, mom. He's here to kill me." She's like freaking the fuck out.
finds that, but Mulder's or Scully's mom has this great moment where she just straight stands in front of the gun.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to watch my child shoot somebody who's, I believe, is innocent.
Yeah,
And she
because
puts her directly
yeah,
in harm's takes
yeah,
guns.
because she tells Scully, she's like, "Well, you believe me, don't you?" Because she's like, "You can't believe a word that he's saying." She starts. There's a great. Now I have a really big pet peeve with this scene with Gillian Anderson when she's like screaming because she's like an amazing performance here. She's blaming Mulder for her abduction. She
Yeah.
blames him for killing her sister. Like all of this trauma she has gone through these 3 seasons, she's throwing it right back in Mulder's face and is like, "You are the cause of all of it," which in a way he kind of is, like not directly for a lot of stuff, but had she not been involved with this guy, none of this shit really would have happened to her. And she's throwing it all back in his face, and it's this great acting. And the fucking shot is out of focus. That shot of her, like the close up of her face, if you notice, it's out of fucking focus. And I was yelling at my television. I'm like, who was the goddamn cinematographer that put her out of focus? The tip of the gun is in focus because it's pointed like directly towards the camera, but she is out of focus. And I was like, oh my God, it just took me out of it. I was so pissed.
See, I was watching it, like, the recordings that I'm watching isn't high def online. It's
Mm.
actually kind of low def, a little bit less than 720p. So I didn't
Oh,
see it.
wow. Oh, okay. I watched watching it on Disney Plus because they have the full widescreen episodes, and it looks beautiful except for that fucking shot because it's completely out of focus.
Wow.
Ugh.
Well, hey, if you ever find yourself at one of these cons and you see Chris Carter do there for some reason, like, I love your stuff, but listen here, you son of a bitch. I saw what you let happen. Season 3, episode 23. You fumbled the ball in the last 5 minutes.
I'll go meet Gillian Anderson, but I will just have a glossy of her face out of focus and ask her to sign it. Can you sign this out of focus shot? Do you remember that?
Would you give me a I survived Tato's Los Bichos shirt? So, great scene, yeah.
Yeah.
They take her to the hospital and leave her in the hospital bed pretty much for the rest of the episode. They track down the original doctor that was working with the dude that had killed the people in the pre-title screen, and find that he's not there anymore. And for some reason, Mulder just immediately thinks that's suspicious. So he tracks down the doctor's house. He's like walking around the outside, sees um the cable van pull up and just dives in the bushes because that's what you do as an FBI agent.
Yeah,
The
camouflage.
the cable guy gets out, goes inside the house, starts having kind of a somewhat a loud argument that's somewhat out of focus audio wise with an agent, some suit that's in the house itself. Mulder runs around the house to try to figure out how to get in the back door, and right as he gets to the back door, two quick gunshots. So he pulls his piece, gets inside, finds both of them dead, shot to the head with just the two shots that were taken, and X like steps out of nowhere
Yeah.
and he's like, "It was me." Like, you, this part of the scene, this part of the episode was really fucking weird to me because you could like he's telling Mulder like I always had to do this. This was always my part to play in it, but because you dragged ass around finding the truth or something like that, I, you know, you could have found the truth before then. It's like, come on, X.
Yeah.
You saw him running around in the bushes. You could have given it 60 more seconds. Just,
Yep. Yep. It felt very forced. This whole sequence felt very, very forced. But I really like David Duchovny's acting during this sequence because he actually shows some emotion. Um, he's pissed off at X for putting Scully's life in danger. He wants to
pulls his
kill him.
piece on him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like now I was gonna ask. I actually wrote this down. If you were Mulder in this situation, would you have just gunned X down? Because X is like, you need me. You can't kill me. You need me. Would you just would have shot him dead and left the scene?
Might have been like, well, you need to tell me why before I pull this trigger. If he would have just turned around, I would have shot him in the back.
Okay. I would have done the exact same thing. But I was like, dude, this guy's more trouble than he's worth at this point in the show. Yeah, he feeds a little bit of information here and there to Mulder, but man, he just causes too much trouble. It's a
he's
gots to
never
go situation.
he's not useful like Deep Throat was.
Right.
And every time he shows up, it's basically plot based blue balls for the audience. So
Yeah.
yeah.
But what do
Young
we
guy.
find out, Jeremy? Who is X actually working for?
It's weird because I saw that he's sitting there reporting to the cigarette smoking man, but then he lies to him because the smoking man says, "Well, who's informing Mulder?"
Yeah.
And he lies to him because
Yep.
it's him telling Mulder to find these things. So he lies to the cigarette smoking man about who Mulder's informant is.
Well, he can't tell the cigarette smoking man because the cigarette smoking man will just kill him. He can't say I'm the one that's the informant. So
It was
he's got a lie.
me.
Yeah, it was me. He's got to say it. But I really like that sort of ending. So my thoughts on this episode was I actually really enjoyed this episode overall. I think Gillian Anderson's performance was really, really good. This was one of the better episodes that seemed like kind of a throwaway thing that they were able to actually weave the mythology type stuff into it in a way that felt believable to me. Like I believe that the cigarette smoking man would be involved in some sort of weird operation where they are testing subliminal messages through television shows to get people to change their behavior and stuff like that. That might all work, and we'll find out here a little bit about the project in the next episode. But it felt natural and organic to me in a way that when he's thrown into some previous episodes, like what was the episode where we just saw his reflection in a mirror or something like that? It was like, why did he need to be in there? This felt plausible to me. I enjoyed this episode pretty much all the way straight through. What were your thoughts on Wet Wired?
I, as far okay, it's one of those episodes that caters to the idiots in the audience
Oh,
because
thank you, thank you.
the only thing that or the only reason that this episode exists is to roll into the next episode and remind the
Yeah,
audience, okay, remember government experience or conspiracies X, the cigarette smoking man. We're gonna do like they've done this in previous seasons. leading up to a real important episode like this. This was a better version of that. I enjoyed what I saw, but after you get done with it and then you roll directly into the next episode, you realize like, oh, the only reason that episode has existed is so that this episode can exist without the audience members going, "What's going on?
Yeah.
I don't understand."
Yeah, and we have mentioned this on previous episodes, but back in the day in the '90s when this was on, I mean, you just get one episode a week. So, if 6 weeks prior they had a mythology episode, or you happen to miss a mythology episode, because it was hard to watch all 24 episodes every single Friday. If you missed one, you're right. You had to have something that kind of set the stage for, all right, this is a big one. Remember Skinner? Remember X?
Mhm.
Remember the cigarette smoking man? Remember the lone gunman? You remember all these people from this episode? And if you don't remember them, we're going to give you a crash course on who they are and what's going on. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So I agree with you on that. But I still like this episode. I
I'm
thought
not
that
saying it's bad. I'm not saying it's bad. I just don't. And again, it's the best version they've done of this vessel to remind us of shit. But it was still that. And I kind of hate when writers treat me like I'm fucking.
fair. That's fair. That's fair. So some tidbits, fun facts from IMDb and Wikipedia. Wet Wired was written by Matt Beck, who served as the series' visual effects supervisor. Beck was inspired to pen the episode after hearing the debates concerning violence on television and its effect on viewers. Beck's initial concept was more complex and pulled from neurology texts, but as the script progressed, it was simplified. Actor Stephen Williams, who plays X, had scheduling conflicts due to his work on the series LA Heat, resulting in the creation of the quote plain-clothed man unquote who appeared in the episode as an emissary for X. So that's why that dude, rando tipster dude, showed up in that first scene. Paul Rabwin provided narration for a television show that plays in the background. Dana Scully's motel room, as well as the lone gunman's office, were constructed on a soundstage. The episode had late stage sound problems, which resulted in post production dragging into the day the episode was scheduled to be broadcast. That's kind of interesting. Williams called his scene at the end of the episode with the smoking man one of his favorite scenes. Rob Bowman was happy with the final product and said, quote, I dug the script. I felt it was a good old-fashioned show, and people who didn't like Jose Chung's From Outer Space would like Wet Wired because all the boys are back. A good, clean steak and potatoes type episode, unquote. The informant who tells Mulder about the case, I mentioned that, should have been Stephen Williams in his role as X. The name John Gilnitz shows up at least 6 times in the series, usually as a throwaway character. It's an in-joke. The name is an amalgamation of the names of 3 people who worked on the show: John Shaban, Vince Gilligan, and Frank Spotnitz. The John Gilnitz name appears in this episode as the victim in the hammock, actor uncredited, so that dude who got to ride that presumably hot blonde never got his name on the end credits, unfortunately. Leonard Betts as the bearded man murder victim, Dreamland 2 in A Christmas Carol, and Jump the Shark as a man named Bioweapon. And the movie the kids are watching when Mulder enters the living room is a heavily edited version of Die Hard. The Nakatomi building is quite clear, as are panicking people being chased from the roof. So there you go. So overall, an okay episode of the X-Files. Is going to transition us into the finale of season 3. Talitha Kumi, I think. Kumai? I don't know how to pronounce it. But each season so far, season 1, season 2, the season finales of the X-Files have been bangers. So join us next Friday as we find out, has that trend continued, or did season 3 kind of lead us on a down sort of summer of anticipation for season 4? We will find out. Hit that like and subscribe. We'll catch you next Friday on eXhuming the X-Files.